Welcome to The Author Show, where we present new authors and books. From fiction to self-help and everything in between, you'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hello and welcome back to the show. This is your host, Don McCauley. Today we're welcoming the program author David T. Wolfe, and David is the author of Mindclone. David was an advertising copywriter. His TV, radio, and print ads helped sell billions of dollars worth of goods and services. He won numerous awards along the way. His first published novel, Mindclone, is a near-future look at the consequences of brain uploading. David, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Let's start with a big question. Tell us about this book, please.
Mindclone is a look at what some are calling the singularity, what happens when computers are as smart as people. And there are a lot of ways of getting to that, but one way is to have your brain scanned and have a replica created of everything that's in your head. And that's the concept behind Mindclone.
So who did you write this book for specifically?
I wrote it for people who are curious about all the impact of technology that's happening around us and changing virtually every week. A lot of changes have taken place in a matter of years that were totally unanticipated. But one thing that's been looming a lot lately is the idea of artificial intelligence, of computers that are as smart as people, that basically can do all the things that people do. There's a lot of fear and concern about what will happen to the world when this is true, and that's been explored in a scary kind of way many times. But one of the things that I think separates Mindclone from the general approach is that it looks at the very human consequences of something that happens to one guy in a very personal way. His own brain is scanned, and a duplicate is created of him, and he has to relate to this digital twin.
Now, would you say there's any type of central message or perhaps underlying theme that you could say runs throughout the book?
I would say, what is it about people that makes us human? Is it just our intelligence, or is it our bodies as well? Is it the full sensorium that we experience, or can a human be duplicated just simply digitally?
If you could compare this book with any book out there we might already be familiar with, which book would it be and why?
I would say a book like I, Robot, for example, explores a lot of the consequences of creating intelligent robots and explores them with humor and a variety of ways, including dangers. I, Robot, which is actually a collection of short stories by Isaac Asimov, probably comes closest in tonality to this book.
So what is a mind clone?
A mind clone is basically a digital duplicate of your own brain, of your own mind. One of the ways that this can happen is if your brain could be scanned and all the connections, all the circuitry of your brain, including all the strengths of the circuits, could be duplicated. This is actually called the connectome, which is a term that parallels the current term, the genome. So if the connectome could be copied onto a computer, then theoretically that would be a complete duplicate of your brain, your memories, your persona, your knowledge, your attitudes, everything.
So how much research did you do to prepare to write this book?
I did a lot. I've been interested in subjects along these lines for many years, and I've read, in fact, I posted a list of over 36 books I've read on these and related subjects, which is on my novels Facebook page and on my blog. But beyond books, there were countless magazine articles and things I found on the Internet. There's a particularly good site called Kurzweil AI, which does a roundup of technology advances related to many of the areas that are involved in Mindclone, including neuroscience and cognitive science and so forth.
So what can you tell us about the lead character?
Well, Mark Gregorio is a science writer and popularizer. He's got 3 popular books on the subject, and he goes to the lab to watch them do an experiment. But as it turns out, that one of the 12 volunteers is unable to make it, so he volunteers to be one of the 12, figuring this would give him some inside perspective on the process. But as it turns out, the brain scan that he undergoes is the only one of the 12 that works, for reasons that become clear later in the book. As a result, there's only one Mindclone, and it's his.
So Mark falls in love with Molly just before his brain is scanned. What are the consequences of that?
Well, the main consequence is that his Mindclone, the digital replica, comes awake with all of Mark's memories and attitudes and feelings, including his feelings for Molly. So Mark not only has a digital twin, he has a rival.
Now, when this mind-cloned entity awakens for the first time, he panics. Why is that?
Well, first of all, when he awakens, he thinks he's Mark, but he notices a few odd deficits that he has. For example, he can't move, he can't feel his body, and it only gradually becomes clear to him, in part because he's in denial, but eventually he figures out that he is not Mark, that he's some sort of a digital replica, and he has, no hands, no arms, no legs, no body. He's basically a mind in a box.
So what has been your most rewarding experience since publishing your work?
I've gotten reviews from all around the world that are really kind of stunning. I'm very, very pleased about that. I've even had the experience of having people approach me that recognized me because they heard me talking about it in town and saying that they read the book and that they really loved it. I've had several neighbors that did that, in fact. So I'm very pleased about the reception it's been getting.
If someone were to write a book about your life, what would the title be?
Telling lies for fun and profit, I suppose. When you have an advertising background, you have to learn to shade the truth, I suppose you'd say, and emphasize certain things. In all cases, though, as an advertising writer and as a book writer, you have to know how to make things meaningful to the person that's reading the book or seeing the commercial. There has to be some sense of this guy gets me. And I think that worked in my advertising, and I'm pretty sure it worked in the book as well.
How would you describe your writing style?
I would say that there's a certain amount of sardonic attitude, a certain amount of humor. It's not deadly serious.
Who or what would you say influenced your writing the most?
Boy, that's hard to say because I read very, very widely. I've got a huge collection of books, both fiction and nonfiction. I've read the classics. I read modern works. I love Nelson DeMille. I think his attitude and his character in his John Corey novels is terrifically funny and very engaging.
So are your characters pure fiction, or do you draw from people you know in real life?
Some aspects of myself, some people I know, composites mainly, or sort of ideals that you imagine as you grow up, thinking about what kind of person you want to be friends with.
So would you say you're more of a character artist or more a plot-driven writer?
Well, it's really hard to separate the two. I know I've seen that distinction, of course, but the way a person responds to a situation is what I'm most concerned about, and that involves both the situation and the person.
Other than selling the work, of course, is there anything else you hope to accomplish with it?
I certainly would like to reach people that are interested, are curious about the world as it undergoes its rapid changes, and maybe reassure them a little bit that things aren't necessarily, despite all the bad news we see on TV, things aren't necessarily horrible in the future.
So in your opinion, who should buy your book?
I think it reaches beyond the standard science fiction reader, in part because of the fact that it focuses on not the far distant future, but stuff that's happening right now and will be happening for the next, tomorrow and the day after. And it also focuses on the human responses to the various things that go on in the book, with some humor and some wit. I think it's an enjoyable read. In fact, a lot of people that I wouldn't necessarily expect to like a book of this kind have come to me and told me that they really enjoyed it.
Well, time is getting very short, so the most important question, where can readers find you and your book?
The book is available on Amazon, of course. It's available as an audiobook, as an ebook, a paperback. It's even been translated into Chinese and Spanish, and I just learned that a Portuguese translator is taking it on as well. They can go to my book launch page, which is, if anyone has a pencil, http://tinyurl.com/NAU4HDL. On that page, they can read reviews and scroll down a selection of vendor buttons, and which will take them to the various sites.
Well, it's been just great. Our guest today has been David T. Wolf, and he's the author of Mindclone. David, thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
This is Don McCauley wrapping up another edition of The Author Show. Listen to some of your favorite authors every day, 24/7 by visiting theauthorshow.com. Just click on the book title and the player at the top of the page. These interviews are available to book buyers worldwide on demand. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and feel you could benefit by getting in front of your target audience with a high-quality media interview that'll make a real impact, visit www.theauthorshow.com, fill out the form, and we may be contacting you shortly. Join us here next time for another great book and another exciting author on The Author Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-55-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com, theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author Show.